Can you imagine 600 tons of iPhones soaring over oceans, crossing continents like pieces in a dynamic chess game? This isn't fiction. It's a real, meticulously calculated operation capable of reshaping the map of global economic influence. So colossal and precisely executed, it feels more like a scene from a corporate espionage thriller than a logistical decision by a tech company. But we're talking about Apple, and in Apple's world, nothing happens by chance. Over the past decades, Apple hasn't just shaped the tech market, it's transformed the very perception of innovation. Now it's aiming to change something far bigger, its relationship with the planet, governments, tariffs, and China. The question before us isn't just why Apple is airlifting millions of iPhones from India to the US. It's about what this tells us about the world we live in and what might be on the verge of collapse. On April 10, 2025, Reuters reported a story that, at first glance, seemed like a minor corporate detail. Apple had chartered a fleet of cargo planes to transport 600 tons of iPhones, about 1.5 million units, directly from India to the US. But what looked like a simple logistics move concealed a geoeconomic earthquake, a subtle yet powerful shift in the tectonic plates of the global economy. Apple isn't just moving iPhones, it's redrawing the routes of global influence. For decades, the heart of Apple's production beat in China. Massive factories in Shenzhen, assembly lines running with Swiss watch precision, millions of workers churning out an iPhone every few seconds. China became indispensable, or so everyone thought. Enter Donald Trump, back for a second presidential term, determined to escalate the trade war with China. In his first term, he sowed the seeds of aggressive economic policy. Now he's reaping them with tariffs that feel more like economic missiles. Components from China now face duties up to 125%, a death sentence for any cost-based strategy. Apple had to choose stay hostage to China's supply chain and pass the costs onto American consumers, jacking up the price of, say, an iPhone 16 Pro Max from $1,699 to over $2,300 or run with everything it's got to a country that's been shouting, "I'm here, pick me," for decades but was largely ignored. India. Running, though, isn't just opening a new factory, it's rebuilding an entire production ecosystem, training, logistics, quality control, export routes, tax adjustments, diplomatic ties. And it's a race against time. Trump won't wait, the market won't wait, shareholders won't wait, and neither will consumers. What happens when a company like Apple challenges the global geopolitical balance with one logistical move? We're on the brink of finding out. This isn't just about moving smartphones, it's about moving power. Apple is saying, if the rules have changed, I'll change the game. And it all starts with a detail few notice: air logistics. Shipping iPhones by plane instead of the usual sea containers isn't just about speed, it's about urgency. A recognition that the world has shifted faster than ships can sail, and the extra cost of air transport, once unthinkable, now seems a small price to pay to escape tariff chaos. Apple is betting that flying is worth it if it means landing beyond the reach of Washington and Beijing. Every ton airborne is a ton of pressure on prices, consumers, and financial markets. And this move is already rippling across industries. How many more companies will follow? How many will bet on India, Vietnam, or Indonesia instead of staying tethered to China? Amid all this, an uncomfortable question lingers, one nobody dares voice aloud. Is this the end of China as the world's factory, or just an illusion fueled by fear and propaganda? A simple answer eludes us because, despite Apple's efforts, China still holds an unrivaled industrial infrastructure, scale, expertise, access to rare resources, and a production ecosystem no other country can match. India might try, but building an industrial empire overnight is impossible. The flight of 600 tons of iPhones isn't just an emergency fix, it's a signal, a declaration that the old global economic stability is gone, that even giants like Apple no longer trust one country, one government, one policy. In uncertainty, the only certainty is diversification. If Apple, with all its resources and sway, is taking this desperate step to dodge Trump's tariffs, What about smaller companies also relying on China? And if even Apple can't escape the trade war's fallout, what does that say about us, the consumers who ultimately foot the bill? This operation, a technical footnote to the casual observer, is actually the trigger for a new global race. If India proves it can partly replace China, it could attract billions in investment, create millions of jobs, and forever alter its place in the world. But if it fails, the cost will be steep. We're not just watching iPhones being shipped. We're witnessing the birth of a new chapter in globalization. One where planes don't just carry goods, they carry political choices, moral dilemmas, and geostrategic stakes. Above all, they carry fear. And history teaches us that when fear enters the game, the boldest decisions follow. What's next? Maybe the end of affordable iPhones, the weakening of China, the rise of India, or perhaps the start of a crisis we can't yet fathom. Picture yourself walking into a store, eyeing a new iPhone on display. You pick it up, weighing the usual question: is it worth upgrading? You compare camera sizes, swipe the screen, hear the salesperson tout a new chip that makes everything faster, smarter, pricier. But now, for the first time in ages, the question shifts. It's not, is it worth it, anymore. It's, can I afford it? Analysts at Rosenblatt Securities predict that if Trump's tariffs on Chinese components fully kick in, the iPhone 16 Pro Max could jump from $1,599 to over $2,300 in the US, a $700 hike in weeks. If that's happening in the US, where iPhones are typically cheaper, imagine the ripple elsewhere. Brazil, India, Argentina, Mexico, South Africa, countries where average incomes don't even cover half a mid-tier model. The iPhone could go from expensive to a symbol of unattainability. This all stems from an economic tug-of-war between the US and China, dictating what you'll pay for your next phone. Trump calls it economic sovereignty, but to your wallet, it's the slashed budgets. Goodbye new phone, goodbye easy installments. And before anyone shrugs, it's just a phone. Think again. An iPhone isn't just a gadget. It's a work tool, a study aid, a lifeline, a digital wallet, a pro camera, a pocket PC. It lets a content creator shoot their first video, a merchant take payments, a mom stay connected to her kid. Like it or not, it's a cornerstone of modern life, now leveraged in an economic war you didn't start but are paying for. The irony? Trump pitches this as protecting Americans. He says tariffs will stop China from exploiting the US, safeguarding workers. But reality tells a different story. Companies like Apple scramble for workarounds, higher prices for consumers, jittery investors, shaky stock markets, and a global middle class losing its standard of living. Meet Camila, a freelance digital marketer in São Paulo. She relies on her smartphone, Wi-Fi, a design app, and video calls with clients. She saves monthly to upgrade every few years. Her phone's her livelihood. But with prices soaring, that plan's toast. She'll limp along with a slowing, outdated device, its worn-out camera and lack of updates hitting her productivity and income. This isn't just about tech. It's about social mobility, dignity. Now meet John in Atlanta, working retail, studying nights, dreaming of his own business. His phone's his world. But a $700 price spike? He's out, along with millions of others. What happens to Apple then? Cost cutting. Who suffers first? Factory workers, small suppliers, delivery crews? The cycle closes. A war sparked between Washington and Beijing now touches Camila, John, an IT guy in Nairobi, a student in Bogota, an intern in New Delhi. Trump calls it temporary pain, urging patience for victory. But while he preaches from the White House, you're maxing out credit cards, choosing between a phone and rent, facing a costlier, unequal, frustrating world. Funny way to protect the people, making them pick up the tab. It's economic policy dressed up as patriotism. This isn't about rooting for China or against the US. It's about leaders making pride-fueled calls over pragmatic strategy, leaving regular folks to bear the brunt. Apple's become a symbol of this pivot. It wants to shield profits while keeping products somewhat affordable, forcing drastic moves like flying 600 tons of iPhones from India to dodge tariffs. Air transport jacks up costs, but you know what's costlier? Political tariffs, sloppy decisions, wars that don't end. Apple's racing time to hold its crown and keep you from walking away? Because if you do, the model collapses, not just for Apple, but for markets, jobs, local economies, and future innovation. Imagine you're a CEO of a big US firm. Your top product hinges on one tiny Chinese-made part, a chip, a lens, a connector. Small enough to fit in your palm, but without it, production halts. Now your government slaps a 125% tariff on that part overnight. What do? This isn't hypothetical. It's hitting hundreds of US companies now. Apple's just the tip of the iceberg. The tariffs save American jobs line sounds great on the campaign trail, but when the bills arrive, it falls apart. Companies can't wait for long-term wins. They need answers now. That means shifting factories, swapping suppliers, rewriting contracts, rerouting shipments, all amid global turbulence. It's like swapping a plane's engine mid-flight, and giants like Apple, Tesla, Microsoft, Nvidia are all trying it. Wall Street whispers, how long can this hold? Since Trump hiked tariffs from 54% to 125%, the Nasdaq's seen steady erosion, not crashes, but quiet cracks. No headlines, just a slow unraveling of the foundation. This trade war doesn't need explosions. It erodes from within. Analysts call it a systemic infection, a slow fever spreading through profits, jobs, investments, and ultimately you. If Apple sticks with China despite tariffs, prices skyrocket. If it shifts to India, logistics costs climb, still raising prices. There's no cheap way out. Either way, you pay. Lately, China's been quietly selling off US debt, dumping treasury bonds. Picture the US as a giant company borrowing to function, with China as the bank. If the bank offloads that debt, it's saying, we don't trust you. Interest rates climb, loans cost more, inflation surges, investments freeze. We're seeing a strategic, silent retaliation. While Trump calls it short-term pain, Beijing's plotting a counterstrike. Imagine China unloading hundreds of billions in US bonds. Dollars tank, markets crash, and the Americans Trump claims to protect feel it first. But what if this is just the start? Trump's hinted at expanding tariffs: cars, batteries, semiconductors, processed goods, agriculture. It's escalation. Back in the 1930s, the US passed the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act, jacking up duties on over 20,000 foreign goods to shield industry. The result? A global chain reaction that deepened the Great Depression. A historic blunder threatening to repeat with new names, but the same self-destructive gears. What's at stake isn't just to push your phone. It's the logic of our consumer system under siege. Rising costs get passed to you, consumption drops, jobs vanish, unrest grows, the cycle spins. So, is Trump's goal really to protect American workers? Or is this a flex of political muscle tied more to pride, influence, and votes than jobs? While Apple fights to stay afloat and the government pushes a narrative of strength, that strength leans on tariff walls, a sign of weakness. And the consumer? Invisible. Camilla, John, Ravi, Chloe, all grappling with a world that's pricier, trickier, slower. Why does it feel like quicksand, even as we recover from a pandemic? The answer might lie in tariffs, or what they signal: a collapse of trust. This moment isn't just big, it's urgent. We're at a historic crossroads. Either we rethink this trade war before it's too late, or we watch it reshape everything you consume. It's a quiet war starting with tariffs and ending with your wallet. Picture 600 tons of iPhones streaking across the sky. Not just a delivery, but a dare. A bet on a new world order. Will it pay off or will it crash? Stick around. We're only getting started.